guys, it is Jack, back up in this bitch with 10 years fitness. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, and in today's video we are talking about science versus Broscience. Do they both deserve credibility, and to what extent? Okay, so for the unaware, let's run through what those two terms mean. Okay, so Broscience is when you get anecdotal evidence from another lifter. Okay, so the buff guy in the gym says that he does this, and he's always done this, and look at him, he's got great results. So that must work for building muscle, right? And that must work for achieving the physique that he's got. So I should do that to achieve a physique like his. Seems to make sense. Science, on the other hand, is done by, well, scientists. They use the scientific method, so they pose a hypothesis, they go out and they carry out experiments, they test it, they contrast it with empirical evidence, and they conclude whether it's the case or not. So that's the study of biology and exercise science, to work out what does and doesn't work for achieving a desired effect, or the opposite, in the body. So, do they both deserve credibility, and to what extent? Now, to start with the Broscience. Okay, now what's good about this is, you can kind of think of it as the application of the science. So he will take ideas from the science, or maybe he does, or maybe he doesn't, that come from tests, and it's putting it to the test in the scenario of building muscle, in the case that's doing the thing that you want to do. So that's good. So if it works for him, it might work for you, it has to be said. And there may well be something behind that which he's doing that works. Well, he's clearly doing something right, basically. It may well be showing that this is demonstrably the case. He is like the example, the proof of it. You can argue that, certainly. But remember, his genetics are different to yours. Right, so he may be able to do something that's not completely efficient and still make great gains. If you do that same thing that isn't efficient, it may not work for you. Also, because, well, genetics, and he's not you, things are going to work differently. It's a very personalised thing. It's not completely understood how different things affect different people within fitness. More experienced trainers will be able to tell you and help you out. Even they still have questions they have unanswered. It's not really an exact science. Okay, so it's very difficult to say, because it works for him, it will work for you. That's what you've got to be wary of. Okay, so you can say that they might be onto something, but it's not definite, so some credibility has to be given to it, but don't take it as golden just because the big guy told you it is the case, I would say. That's how I think of it anyway. Okay, now the science. Now this is an interesting one itself, because there's the science and then there's how the science is represented. I would say trust science, okay, because the process by which we discern things to be the case through science is very thorough, okay? The tests are done, and then it goes to peer review, so there's intense debate about what is the case or not. So studies are done, and what the studies show individually, don't take as golden. Look at empirical evidence. So all the studies summed up, okay, how many studies support a given effect, how many reject that certain effect. Okay, and then side with the one, or you know, sit on the fence, whatever you think, based on how many studies support it versus how many reject it. Okay, because that's the best way of finding out, because their job is to find out what is the case in the human body. And you interpret that sensibly, then you end up with good information on how the body works, how to build muscle, lose fat, so on and so forth. Okay, now what I said about misrepresentation of science, this is what you need to worry about, right? Because so many people have a point to prove, and they like to say, studies show a given effect. Studies show my product works. Studies show my program works. Right. The problem is, studies show is not always convincing, because, as I said, studies are being carried out every day. Right, hundreds of them. So, like, all around the world, in universities everywhere, labs everywhere. So, just to say studies show that this is the case, you also need to consider how many studies show that it's not the case. Because you can say studies show climate change isn't real, right? There have been like two studies done that say climate change is not real, right? Humans are not the cause. But then there's over 10,000 studies done which say that we are the cause, right? So technically studies show that climate change is not the case, but far more studies show that it is, right? So what do you conclude, realistically? Right, so that is a misrepresentation of the science. And people like to say that phrase all the time, studies show. So be careful of that. There's also the thing that you can manipulate data sets so that if you interpret them in a certain way, you say, well, we'll start looking at it here and end it here. Does this show what we want to show? Right, we'll consider this data. Does this show what we want to show? Consider this data. That's a big one with supplement companies, so they can use the whole studies show thing again. And when they do that, they say studies may show that this is the case. That's because they've not followed the science properly. Be very careful about that. Don't take that as being scientifically the case if they say studies may show. Okay, so the good thing is that it's a reliable method. Okay, the scientific method is tried and tested. It is a great way of finding out what is true in the world around us and within our bodies, of course. Biology. But of course, the misrepresentation is what you need to be worried about. So I think they both do deserve some credibility. As to which you give more credibility depends on the representation and how many different anecdotes you have, I suppose. Because if you've got like several different anecdotes saying this is the case, right? This worked for me. This guy says this worked for me. This guy says it worked for me. It's probably reasonable to say that it adds up. Again, if you've got lots of studies to say this works, this works, this works, it's reasonable to say it adds up. Okay, the main thing is here, and consider information in a context. How much information agrees with it? Does it add up? Right, okay guys, I think that's all I have to say on that for now. So as always, thanks for watching. I've been Jack with 10 Liters Fitness. Check out my sponsors, thealphacore.com, for awesome fitness clothing. Use discount code JACK10 over there for some money off. But as always, thanks for watching guys, I'll see all of you in the next one.